A lot of people have a lot of different takeaways from the Pacers win over the Celtics last night in the in-season tournament. A lot of them have to do with Tyrese Haliburton, how he's a future superstar in the making. But the thing I couldn't stop getting out of my head amid all the awesome hysteria of last night was that Adam Silver needs to be putting more small market teams on national television. It's something I believed in for so long, because if you want to get the most people to care about the most teams in the NBA, putting them on national television is exactly how you do it. Getting to play on national television, whether it's TNT or ESPN, basically signals that you as a team matter. You are important, you are worth watching, whether it's because you're great or you're exciting to watch. I'm not oblivious to why certain teams get more nationally televised games than the others. Obviously, you want to see the best teams go at it. There's a market element to it. The best teams usually have the best players, the guys you want to watch. And I do think that for a while, if a team wasn't necessarily competing for a championship or competing for a high-end playoff spot, they weren't necessarily worth watching. But I think the NBA is in such an amazing place right now where you can make a legitimate argument that 28, 29 of the 30 teams are legitimately worth watching, whether it's because they're really great or they have intriguing young talent. And so if I'm Adam Silver, it should be my goal to get as many people to care about as many teams as possible. And the way to do that is, yes, you obviously want to hold some national TV spotlight for, the main teams, like the Lakers, like the Warriors, Celtics, Bucks, Sixers, etc. Because at the end of the day, people want to watch those games as well. But think about the kind of impact it would have for, a casual NBA fan in, let's say, Indiana. Or maybe there's somewhere in the country that doesn't have a local basketball team, and they're trying to figure out which team should I get into, right? Of course, they're going to gravitate to the big teams. But if the team that they're closest to, let's say Memphis, gets put on national television, that signals, hey, this team matters. This team is worth watching because we're putting them on a national spotlight, so you should tune in. And then once that game is over, that fan's probably going to be more intrigued and is going to want to follow them, when they're playing more locally. I'm not saying that has to mean an equal number of nationally televised games for every team. Again, I'm not oblivious as to why teams like the Bucks and Warriors play the most nationally televised games. But I think last night was such a prime example of why there needs to be a bit more balance when it comes to the national TV schedule. Even if a team didn't have the record last year to earn more games. You saw the atmosphere in Indiana, it was electric. Now, you could make an argument that the reason that game worked so well in Indiana was because it wasn't just a nationally televised game, it was a nationally televised game with the stakes of the in-season tournament, the elimination stuff, the prize money. That's fair, and I definitely think that played a part of it. But I also think there's something to be said about, if you're a young team and you get the chance to play on national television, you're going to take advantage of it. Because those opportunities don't come around often. So when they do, you're going to want to show up. You're going to want to put on your best stuff. And as we know, when NBA players decide to put on their best work, that usually leads to a really great product, like we saw last night with the Pacers and Celtics. So yeah, I think it'd be a really great idea for Adam Silver to implement next season. One of the ways I've pitched it in a short form video I made that you could find on all my platforms is something I call Rising Stars Week. Let's take a week out of the NBA season to spotlight these young teams going at it and put that on national television. I loved seeing the Pelicans and Kings go at it last night because I'm thinking, hey, this is such a refreshing matchup to see on national television that's not the Sixers and Celtics for the fourth time. It was a nice change of pace, and it was a really fun game to watch. I think it's also a good look for the NBA if they're not just pushing the same 5 teams, which again, I want to preface by saying I understand to an extent why they do that, but I also think the NBA is at such a great point where every team has something to watch. Even the Wizards, who are bad, they're funny bad. And so it just feels like the NBA is leaving so much stuff on their plate, so much potential underneath the surface, where they're not taking advantage of all these unique players and talents and storylines. They're not taking advantage of that by putting it on their biggest stage and telling fans, whether you're a diehard fan of a team, a casual fan of a team, a casual basketball fan, hey, you should watch this team. They matter. I think the more they do that, the more fans they're going to get. And last night was a prime example of what that could look like at its best.